This is Wendee Omer.
And I'm Sharon Pierce.
And we want to welcome you to You Can Handle the Truth. Man, has it been a week. First of all, Sharon, it's your birthday.
It is my birthday.
Whoop, whoop.
And what better way to celebrate than to be here with you?
It's been fun. We've had a good time. This is our 5th episode.
It is.
And the fact that the number 5 falls on your birthday, there's something significant about that.
I think there is. And your gift of the olive tree tied in with what we were talking about last week.
Yes, I saw it and it just screamed out, Sharon, send me to Sharon's house. Please don't take me to your house because I know I won't survive. So I know you have a green thumb a bit more than I do because I am not a grower. I am a grower of disciples. Let's put it that way. I work with disciples. I don't work with trees and plants. So people are my thing. So happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And maybe we'll even break out into song later. Who knows? I don't know. I might do a birthday homage to you.
That would be wonderful. Like the old HAPP.
Why? HAPP, why? Wait.
Oh! I'm kidding.
Oh, we forgot it. HAPPYBIRTHEAY. We're going to sing. We can wrap it. Well, but what a week otherwise in this crazy topsy-turvy world that we live in. You and I thought we left the funny farm years ago, and it just tends to keep getting funnier and funnier with things going on. The election process, we have that, which all of America is dealing with, the election process from local props and this and that and the other to all the way to the presidential election. You know who you're voting for?
Oh, yes, I do.
You've got it decided down pat.
I'm a Christian, and I'm not afraid to vote based on my values. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that the candidate is perfect, and that doesn't mean that he's necessarily Christian.
Right.
However, he aligns closest with my core values, and that's where I have to vote.
So what's the big thing for you? Because I know for me, it's got to be the abortion topic.
It certainly is.
And yet we see we have seen some changes within both parties becoming more and more, well, obviously one party is a lot more outspoken about the abortion topic than the other. Christians are hanging in there trying to figure out what the Republican Party is doing. I just said it. The Republican Party. Are they going to stand on moral principle that abortion is murder?
I think they are going the way of what we've seen with the American church, where they're trying to keep one foot here and one foot on one side of the aisle and one foot on the other side of the aisle. And they're willing to compromise their values to get the votes, is what I feel.
Right. So one foot in the world.
Yep.
And the other in morality. I won't even call it Christianity because I don't think the Republican Party is necessarily the Christian party.
No.
But it does hold to a set of moral views that tend to lean more Christian. The other thing that we see popping up has just been the horrific beating that the South has taken in the last couple of weeks with those hurricanes moving through.
Yes.
Absolutely horrific. Have you seen the images coming out of North Carolina and, both Carolinas and Georgia and Florida? They got hammered.
Yeah, like a 1-2 punch. It wasn't just one, it was another one, but while they were still reeling. Mm-hmm. And thank God for these. We have some Christian, not we as our group, but I mean there are Christian organizations that have feet on the ground there and actually are in there quicker than the government has been able to get in there.
Right. And there are many rumors that are going around with FEMA, with the government, with money being passed out and all of that. But the important thing is not to, it's tempting to politicize it, isn't it? However, I think the unspoken here is all the local churches that are stepping up and sending in supplies and sending in, boots on the ground, like you said, to help and love their neighbor. And that's been a beautiful thing to see. We experienced that a little bit with the fires. California, we always get these fires coming through. And man, what it does to bring a community together.
It does.
And we saw a lot of outside love coming at us, this neighborly love that was just in a time of such devastation and upheaval. There's something so comforting about people come along beside you and saying, we'll walk with you through this. It's a beautiful thing about humanity.
It is, and it's encouraging because we're so polarized during this political season that it is nice to see genuine human kindness and love, that they're going out there to do this work. I'm really encouraged by it.
Well, I was doing some research, and one of my favorite organizations is Samaritan's Purse. We tend to think of them as the Christmas people.
Yes.
Right? They send out the shoe boxes and such all over the world. But I wanted folks to know that they are accepting donations. So if you're like us, you're in California and other part of the country, and we can't put boots on the ground, but we know how important organizations are like this because they are actually going into these areas. They call them the orange shirts. And they're going in, and anybody can volunteer. So if you're in California and you have a week that you'd like to go down and go into Florida and North Carolina, Georgia, help them to clean up. They're going in and doing mud debris removal, trees. Let me see. I see some stuff. Let me read some of this. Mud outs, debris cleanup, tree working, roof tarping, just helping people get back on their feet and maybe even back into their homes. It's a long process, but they're always looking for people. So you can sign up through them if you want to do a short-term mission project like this. They're also taking donations, so check out SamaritansPurse.org. They're a fantastic ministry. I haven't heard anything negative about Samaritan's Purse. Have you?
I have not. And they were actually here for the fire.
They were.
They were here locally in Shasta County, and that was awesome.
Very helpful. So thank you to Franklin Graham for what he does with that, and lots of volunteers. He would be the first to admit that he's not the only one working there. He has a great team. So anyway, let's move on to news.
News that could give you the blues if you did not have a biblical perspective. It's something that we were told was going to happen.
Times get tough, right?
They do. And Jesus told us, when you see these things,
look up.
Yes.
Your redemption draws nigh. We'll go King James.
It really would be devastating, I think, for some people to see this. I think of some of my older relatives that have passed on, that it would be really confounding to them and disheartening to see what's happened.
Yeah.
At this point.
But there's what's beautiful about being connected to Christ is that that joy can still be had. Our joy can be found in Him. That's why we don't depend on all of these other things, right? We don't depend upon government or people or our weather, our safe space.
Yes.
To bring us comfort. We depend on Christ to comfort us. That's where we find our hope, not just our salvation, but our hope is in Him.
There was, what psalm was it, where he says in the psalm, and that was Old Testament times, of course, that do not put your trust in princes. Mm-hmm. That's not where your hope lies. Your hope lies in the Lord.
And we have so many examples of King David. You know, you look at David, you look at Ruth, you look at people who were having real life problems, and Abigail, we studied her,
Yes.
Rahab. People who put their hope in God because things were falling apart in their lives. And what a wonderful place to know that we can go into the cleft of the rock and know that God's hand is going to cover us and protect us no matter what happens. He doesn't promise us a physical easiness. Is that, am I saying it right?
This isn't your best life now.
It is not. We're not going to Joel Osteen this thing.
No.
We are, and you know what? Who wants this very short time period to be your best? Because there's an eternity that's waiting for us, and that's our best life because we get to be with Him for eternity. This is the pilgrimage.
Yes, we're sojourners here.
Yes, we sure are. We looked up a lot of different news things for this week, and there was a topic that I wanted to talk about because it just jumped out at me. It has to do with men.
Yes.
There is a gentleman by the name of Andrew Walker who wrote an opinion piece for a World News Group, which I believe is a Christian publication. I could be wrong. He wrote this on October 8th, titled, "Why Do Democrats Have a Masculinity Problem? Progressivism's rejection of the Bible's creation order has led to troubles with male voters." Now, our thinking today is not to attack, it's us versus them, Democrats versus Republicans, none of that. I was intrigued by this. Do we have a masculinity problem? Just in America, period. What do you think? Just from the title, because this says, why do Democrats have a masculinity problem? Do Americans have a masculinity problem?
I think the view has changed dramatically. I saw a shirt on a child that said, "Down with the patriarchy."
Ooh.
And that, to me, is like, I don't even know that they know what that means, but it's...
Mama knows what it means.
Yes, I believe she does. And it's interesting that we're so polarized that it's even like we're trying to polarize the sexes now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very unfortunate because husband and wife are supposed to be the team.
Right.
They are the team that
Right.
God created to work together to raise a family.
Right.
And we've got all these other entities that are telling us, you're not doing a good enough job. The school's going to insert themselves here. You males are taking over too much. Women need to be in charge. Mm-hmm. It's like they're tearing apart the nuclear
there's an agenda
family
behind it, isn't there?
Yeah, it feels very much like that.
And we know that men and women, because you and I come at this from a biblical worldview, that men and women are made in the image of God. And it's a beautiful thing. And our purpose is to reflect the image of God. And we get so off track on that because we become so self-focused instead of God-focused that I want what's best for me. I want my rights. I want to be heard. I have a right to, it's not even do what I want, but think the way I want. Think outside of the way God presents things and what He created me for. And we begin to see others when they want to put a roadblock up, like when we can't touch the tree or take from the fruit.
Yes.
then how do we get around that? And if you won't allow me to take on this role, or what's the word? There's such a competition.
There is.
And women have been competing with men, well, for millennia. But here in this country, with the startup of feminism, we have taken what we perceived as our rights, which I want equal pay. If I'm doing the same job as a man, I do not want to receive less pay because I am a woman. So there are some wonderful things that came out of a movement that needed to come. Women not being treated like cattle, women not being treated, abused, right? Or I was watching an old Carol Burnett clip. And I love Carol Burnett. I love the old Carol Burnett show. But I'm surprised at what I see on there, where women would be hit in the show by men. And it wasn't a big deal. It was a funny message. Like, you'd see her being Harvey Korman would punch her in the stomach, or, and they'd slap and, being pushed around and stuff. I don't like that.
No, that is absolutely wrong.
But it was funny. It was done for, to get the laugh and such. And it was during a time when women were not treated very well. There were women in real situations where they would call the police because they were being beaten on at home, and the police would come and lecture the woman to be more workable, to respect her husband more, while she's, got a bloody lip or a black eye. So that needed to be fixed, didn't it? But then we began to vilify men to the point that men were being treated like they were buffoons.
Yes.
And I saw that again in the 1980s and 90s in the media on certain TV shows. Tim Allen. I like Tim Allen. I watched him in what was the show, the Home Improvement. Home Improvement, was that the name of the show? And he was such a buffoon and couldn't do anything right. And here you had the matriarch of the family who felt like she was carrying everything, and she was cleaning up his messes. And I didn't like that either. So why do we have to vilify one group in order to be equal? In order to be equals. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
I went on a very long rant there, Sharon.
No, it's true though, because I can remember shows where it was, I'm sad to bring this up because I love Bill Cosby. I loved the Bill Cosby show. I loved the way their family was. I loved the way the interaction between husband and wife, and it was a sad ending for him. But that was more on equal terms, and we see this kind of buffoonery going on with many of the Disney shows. The parents are complete idiots, and the kids are the ones that are taking care of everything.
Disney is very good at that, erasing parents from the lives of the children.
Yes.
And the children figuring things out on their own. And that's sad. So I think, but again, there's a purpose in all of this. It is to split up, and I think you called it, to split up the nuclear family, the typical family, and to show that there's many different ways, just like there's many different ways to God, there's many different ways to worship, there's many different ways for the family. And yet, so anything that God himself has established gets attacked and dismantled.
Yes.
Including our faith. We've even seen, I know this is off topic, but deconstructing the faith.
Oh, yes.
That you've got to get rid of the old way of doing things and embrace this new spirituality. I'm deconstructing. That's become very popular.
It is,
today.
and they make up a lot of new terms. Toxic masculinity. God forbid that there's a man that is actually stands his ground.
And knows who he is.
Yes. It's like we've got this whole, I saw, this may be a little off topic as well, but I was listening to the news on the way home from our wonderful movie night last night with the ladies' Bible study.
That was fun.
And it was a lawsuit that a husband filed a civil suit against 3 of his wife's friends that helped her get an abortion without his knowledge. And to me, it's like that is such something that is like, how did we cut the man out of that decision? Because he's on the hook for child support should you decide that you are going to keep that child and maybe even cut him out from being the parent. But you have no right to say, we are married. We took an oath together that we're in this relationship, and you have gone and killed my child. Like I think things have gone so the pendulum has swung so far over that it's not your right. It's not your body. That child has a right.
And that's the term. You were just speaking about the different terms that we have, the buzzwords that are put out there, and that is my body, my choice. That's been a very effective term. We even saw it on a commercial for Kamala Harris that's come out, this last week, that some people are making fun of. These men who are supporting women. They're not afraid to vote for a woman. And within that commercial, it is brought out that if a woman wants to be a cat lady or she wants to have children, or, a woman thinks my body, my choice, he's good with it. And I think on the one hand, you have a gentleman who's married who is heartbroken that his child has been murdered. And on the other hand, you have men who are so happy to be off the hook. Thank you. Dodged a bullet on that one, right? So, again, 2 opposing views, not compatible, doing things one way of preserving life, and the other is life isn't worth preserving. And we're all just animals anyway.
Well, if we act like animals, because with modern medicine, we do have the options of preventing pregnancy.
We do.
There's no reason that it should get to the point that I understand rape and incest, those kind of things happen.
They do, and it's horrifying, but you don't punish the child. At the same time, abortion is, I can't even, to use abortion as birth control.
That's a big issue.
That's what's happening with young people. I was at an abortion clinic when I was a teenager, and there was a girl in there who was 14, and her mother had taken her to the abortion clinic, and it was like her 3rd abortion, and she was 14, and Mom was dragging her in there. This little girl was crying, and Mom was using that clinic as a means of birth control. And there was a deeper issue there than a lot of different issues there. But what I'm saying is, we know we're not dumb. We are women who understand other women.
Yes.
And we know how women think, and we know how birth control works.
Yes, we do.
We know the pill works.
And if you looked at real statistics, which I don't believe California keeps accurate statistics on abortion, there are multiple. It's not just one abortion that many of these women has had, as you have pointed out. It is multiple. And it is not a simple procedure. It is laden with its own possible really bad side effects or permanent damage.
Right.
So it's not like it's just going to the dentist.
No. And they try to make it sound like it's an easy process and quick, and it's not, because there are emotional implications that take place after that. So some people and personalities are more sensitive than others. Some are more desensitized. And I think it has to do as well with sin issue too. If you are walking in a path of sin and destruction, you can even be unaware of the implications of what you're doing.
Yes.
But hopefully, the heart will turn to God and reason with Him, and then allow the enormity of it to settle within their minds and hearts to see what's been done, and then receive forgiveness for that, because forgiveness can be had.
It can, and we're not condemned for the rest of our life because of that. And that's the thing with these, when we are using our moral compass as what is in the world, well, I'm not as bad as this person, well, I'm not as bad as this person, it doesn't hold up to God's standard.
No.
And that's why we need Jesus.
We need him as the Savior from the law.
Yes.
The law condemns us.
It does.
The moral law says this is wrong and you're in trouble and you are convicted of this sin, this moral sin against a very holy and good and just God. And what Jesus is the lifeline who comes in and says, but there is forgiveness to be had because I took that upon myself on the cross. I took your sin, I'm speaking in Jesus's place, but he took your sin and my sin upon himself so that we could be forgiven and be born again and be made new creations. Oh, the world should turn to Christ.
It would be a whole different place, because, Jesus was treated women completely different than the culture of that day.
Yes, he did. Well, let me ask you this, because we've gotten off our topic of masculinity, but since we've brought up Jesus, do you think that Jesus was masculine?
I think he very much was.
What proof do we have that Jesus was masculine and not this mamby-pamby, kumbaya guy sitting in his robe and sandals, playing his guitar and embracing feminism?
Oh, Jesus! We see him going and cleansing the temple. Was very. He was not afraid to stand up to the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees.
So masculinity is strength and not being afraid to do the right thing.
Exactly.
And that was the right thing to do.
It was the right thing.
And so we see Jesus being strong in his conviction. We see Jesus being a very standing up for what the Father knew was right, for a very holy and good, pure God, and the standards that he set on the people. So we see Jesus standing up for that. What else do we see?
We talk about it many times, but I do love the story of him talking to the Samaritan woman, and that's the first time we see him say, I am the Messiah. I am. Mm-hmm. And he is talking to, not only, she is an outcast in her own society, apparently, judging by the time maybe she's going to the well or she's all by herself. Mm-hmm. And sounds like she's a fallen woman maybe, and
she's
most
fallen.
certainly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And And she's a Samaritan. So I'm sure that the disciples were quite shocked when they came back and saw Jesus talking not only to a woman, but a Samaritan woman.
A Samaritan woman and a fallen woman. This was a morally corrupt woman.
It was. And then the other story that I love is the one where he's having dinner and he's been not really welcomed into the home of the religious leader, and a woman comes in that is a sinner, and she is weeping and washing his feet with her hair and her tears. And he points that out to them. I came in and you didn't show me any hospitality.
Right. And here she is, and she's going to be honored for what she's done. And I think what that shows is that masculinity is not bullying.
Absolutely not bullying.
Like, there's a strength.
Yes.
And so on the one hand, there was a great strength with Jesus in doing what was right and what was good and what was noble and what was pure. And on the other hand, showing mercy and compassion to that woman at the well. He didn't bully her.
No.
He didn't jump in on what Peter was saying, Peter and Judas, who were saying, what is she doing? And kind of belittling her. And masculinity doesn't bully and it doesn't belittle. And I think as women, we can speak to a lot of times feeling like we get belittled a bit by men.
Yes, a little condescending sometimes,
the
maybe.
Condescending. There is that. There is mansplaining. There are these. Come on, we if we can call out women.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Excuse me.
We can call out women on this show. We can call out men too, who they do tend to patronize a bit, and so I don't ever see Jesus patronizing people.
No, he was very courageous and honest. There was no flattery. There was no that pleasing thing.
Right.
It can be very easy. I can say that before I came to Christ, that I would try to take advantage of my femininity with men.
Sure.
I would. I mean, I don't do that so much now, and it's lucky if I can get a guy to hold the door open for me at 61, but
that again, okay, we can go into that because that's a lost art. I will watch men push me out of the way to get into the store before I can get in there, or to jump in line. Now, it has happened though, and I have to call it out. I've also had men who, if I had like a heavy 24-pack of water or something, who will lift that up for me. And, I'm going through self-checkout or something, and they'll do that for me. And boy, does that feel good.
It does.
I am not a feminist that says I can do that myself. Although I do tend to do that more with my husband, and I'm so okay, Heath, I have to call you out. Driving the car. He says the man should drive the car if it's a husband and wife, the man drives the car. And that's something that goes back with him. And boy, do I've jumped on his back to get my car keys from him. I'm like, it's my car. And the kids are just watching the show while now he's 6 foot. He's a very muscular guy.
He is.
So I can jump on his back and try to wrestle those keys from him, and I never get them. Let's just put it that way. But I digress.
It's like the remote in the old days.
Oh, the remote. Yes.
They're wrestling over the remote.
Now I have my own TV, so I just go to, I'm like, I'm not even trying anymore.
You go do football.
I'm going to go watch Murder, She Wrote, and you watch football. But we see in Jesus a beautiful example of masculinity. And so he is the example on how to treat women, how to treat men, how to speak truth, how to not bully, how to be strong and courageous. Like, he is, if you want to learn about what it's like to be a man, look towards Christ, and he would know he made them.
Yes, he is the perfect example.
He is.
He is.
So back to our opinion piece by Andrew Walker. I want to quote this. He says, one of the most intriguing narratives arising out of the 2024 election is the growing gender gap in how men and women identify politically. Men, especially young men, and they're talking like 18 to 25 young men, are becoming more conservative, and women are, guess what, becoming more liberal. As the New York Times recently reported, men are becoming more religious. What is this about? I want to read you a couple of other things. This was October 8th from the World News Group. It's a Christian publication, I think. I didn't go that deep into it, but I believe it is. September 25th, 2024, the New York Times published, with Generation Z, men are now more religious than women. On September 24th, 2024, the New York Magazine published this article, Will Young Men Take Over American Christianity? And then Slate.com came out October 11th with this one, Generation Z men are going back to church. And I want to read you this. Among Zoomers, young men are now more religious than young women, and women have defected from the Christian faith in larger numbers than young men. And while men in general are slightly more conservative than women, typically, young men seem to be much more conservative than young women, especially as young women have banked hard to the left, and the youngest voters, those under the age of 25, may even be more conservative than voters ages 25 to 30. So, like, this is going back, and I even saw some stuff talking about young men who are between 15 and 18 are banking more to the right, more conservative, more religious values. So, this was shocking to me. I think the poll that they're referring to, and I can't remember the name of the poll, but I think it's going back into July, August time frame when this poll came out, and the news organizations picked up on it. The media, and I'm guessing politically as well, they're very concerned that their fight to vilify patriarchal older men is backfiring, and these younger men are seeing what's happening, and they're bucking against it.
I'm so thankful for that, because I think that partially came into play with, is it DEI? Right. Diversity and equality and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when they started really vilifying white men in particular, we saw that one interview with the young man on campus, and he's like, you start talking to him and he realizes that, well, no, that's not really true. It's not. They have vilified males to the point that it's like they better start turning around, because it's not.
You mean fellows like Charlie Kirk?
Yes.
Who go out to these college campuses and such and engage these men who have become more feminine, have embraced femininity, not just, we're not even talking, not just LGBTQ, but men who have embraced feminist policies.
Yes.
These men are, I'm hoping, being spoken truth to, that they are made in the image of God to be masculine. They don't have to hide that.
No. And masculinity is, as you've pointed out several times already this morning, is not bullying.
Right.
It's not bossing everybody around. It's not, in the Bible, the admonition to the father is that you treat your children so that they don't turn from you when you're giving them discipline.
Right.
You're not to be just ruling with an iron fist. And a true Christian man is not, they're not going to be a parent like that.
Right.
You don't get respect from fear and intimidation.
Mm-hmm. There's meekness. And meekness is not always seen as something that's good, but Moses was very meek. Jesus was very meek in that he had the power to destroy, but he didn't. Just because you can doesn't mean that you do.
Exactly. When he was in the garden and they were coming to arrest him, and all he said was, "I am," and they fell back.
Right.
Those two, just stating that, they physically fell back.
It's that idea of every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And you think, well, no, not every knee will. The people are so stubborn. No, they will. Because when you're standing before a holy God, and that's what Jesus was showing, was his godhood for a moment. They were privy to something. They saw something. They felt that power there, and it caused them to fall backwards. And every person will do that. And that takes us back to last year, what we taught. I mean, not last year. Last week, what we spoke about, imploring this younger generation to come to the Lord. You will eventually. I'm sorry, no matter whether you think he's real or not, whether you choose to acknowledge his godhood or not, whether you choose to bow to him as master now in this world, whether you do or not, eventually you will. That is your future. And so we will all come to it, and some of us will gladly do it, and then others will fall backwards. It's amazing. But why? There's another issue here, that these young men are seeing what's happening. There's a couple of issues. Women, we have done this to them. We have taken away or done everything we could to beat out the masculinity with our husbands, our fathers, our friends in the workplace. We've done everything that we can. Why are we doing that? Why do we want men so badly to act like women?
It's hard for me because I was raised right in the middle of the women's lib movement.
Yeah.
And I really fully embraced that and really wrecked a marriage like that because it's not compatible really for a good marriage.
Right.
It's not. You can't have two people vying to be the head.
Right. And the way God designed it, let's just put it out there. The way God designed it was that man would be the head of the household. And we could go through we should do a show on it. You and I are about to do a study, a Bible study on it with some Generation Zers, XYZs, where we're going to have some good discussion on how God created things, and we don't need to compete.
No.
With the head of our household, we are made with our role as well, and it's mutually important.
It is.
But getting back to why are we not only vilifying, but we're doing this to our sons and our daughters, and training our daughters to put men down, to say that men need to behave like us, think like us, react like us. Why are we doing that?
I've seen how disrespectful the children can be to their fathers. That is amazing to me. And now the disciplinarian is sometimes is the mother, the one that is the authority figure, and that's and I don't think it can be that way and last. I think at some point someone is going to go, I think I've had enough of this. I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. And it's not healthy. I think all of this is like the whole society is trying to turn us all into the same thing. And God made us all so, we have different spiritual gifts. And within the church, all of these spiritual gifts come together and they make we come together and we're a better team because of our differences. And it feels like in our society, if you're sad or if you're whatever it is, if you have more energy than someone else, we'll medicate you to make you like everybody else. You're going to be, we'll make you more to what we think you should be. And we've got all these wonderful gifts, and God gave men and women such different gifts.
Right.
And
but they're compatible.
They're absolute. We fit together like a puzzle.
Yes.
We are to cleave together and become one. And that's what we're doing is we're pulling that apart with force so that things are getting broken in the process.
Yes. And what's getting broken are marriages and households and children. And their minds are being broken. Hearts are being broken. So this and society is broken because we haven't figured out that the way that God created things is perfect and good, and we don't have to break it apart. But that is, again, the sin nature. So I think you're right, and we've turned it into a competition. We've done this to our men because we want control. And we don't want anyone telling us what to do.
Exactly. And I most assuredly was one of those women that was like, anything you can do, I can do better.
Oh, I love that song.
You know, it was really.
It's a classic.
These boots were made for walking. I'm going to be right there with you. And it's not the way to treat anybody.
So here's what I'm seeing. We have young women, and you and I coming at this from a woman's point of view, and we can take responsibility for what we've done and what we've created here.
Yes.
We have young women who are coming into the church. As the articles are saying, women are leaving in droves and they're going for, witchcraft. They're embracing other things. Either it's atheism or witchcraft or even the Muslim religion. But women are embracing other things. That is shocking. But we do have some young women who are coming into the church who are saved. They've been born again, but they have a background of feminism. They've been raised in it much more deeply embedded than you and I. We were in on the ground floor of this, but it has only escalated. And so we see these women who are in their teens, 20s, 30s, who are coming from a feministic point of view. How can we encourage them as older women to leave that behind and embrace the roles of women within the church?
I think that's where the truly studying the Bible, it comes into play, because we try to live by example as well, but truly studying the Bible and reading when I read some of the Bible before I was saved, it really made the hairs on my neck stand on end. Like, oh my goodness, they don't like women in
It's
this thing.
offensive.
It was, and then, but now reading it now, it's not. The instruction to the husband is lengthy, and his role is to be the protector of the family and to take care of the family and be the leader. And women have such an important role, and it, unfortunately, some of that's been taken away by when you have to be away from the home for so long. Your child has to go to daycare because you are the sole support of the family, or and getting that, being able to keep that in perspective is difficult when you have now become the breadwinner, the sole
as
parent,
the woman,
as the
woman.
The mother has now become that one thing, and that's where the church has to come alongside. That we have to, and I'm thankful for we have some really godly couples in our church and young families.
Yes.
That are really a great example of coming together and even coming and helping.
Right.
Coming alongside and helping
these younger women.
Yes. And that's where, I'm digressing again, but the importance of going to church and becoming involved in a church once you've been saved is so important, because that you need that support in this kind of society.
Yes. We are to be the church, to be here for one another.
Yes.
We need to show up.
We do.
Yes. Not only in each other's lives and in this, in this building on Sunday morning, but to be there in each other's lives and engaging with one another. And these young ones who are coming in, they've not read the Bible. They haven't been taught in schools and by parents. And you and I grew up in a household where our parents took us to church. For better or for worse, they took us to church.
Yes.
And so we have that background. These women are coming from a place where they were unchurched. Like they were never encouraged to read scripture. They were never encouraged to pray or had a grandparent who did this. And, they're coming from situations that are completely different from you and I. So we're almost like spiritual mamas in there. And as the older ladies who have been planted by the waters for a while, it is our responsibility to come alongside them and teach them the ways of God in a humble, meek way. Yes, one of the other things that I wanted to bring up, because you hit on it, was the example that we are within our marriages and such. And also, but you said the most important, being in the Word. They have to be in the Word and study the person whom they are choosing to follow. And I think that's got to be key, doesn't it?
It does.
If you're trying to figure out how do I hear God's voice? How do I walk with Him? What does He expect of me? What is my purpose? You're not going to find that sitting at home twiddling your thumbs or getting on the computer or watching TV or even attending a once-a-week Bible study. You're not going to get the answers for what you're looking for unless you're learning from Christ. That's got to be the key, doesn't it?
It absolutely has to be what is guiding your life.
And these men who are coming, it says they're religious. They're moving towards the right. They're becoming more conservative. They're going back to church. I hope it's not just religion that they're finding. I hope it's Christ that they're finding, and not this form of works that many people turn to. So,
well, who would you want your daughters to marry? Anybody out there, whether you're a Christian or not, like, what values would you want in the husband that your daughter is going to spend the rest of her life with? And I think many people going into marriage don't even really think about, like, this is for the rest of my life. This is until it starts getting hard.
Right. Well, we can always get divorced.
Yeah.
Everybody does it.
And a Christian man, not a religious man.
Not a religious man.
A Christian man is going to treat your daughter the way, and he's not going to stray.
Right.
And he is going to be a good father. And that's what I want as a mother of a daughter. And
it really reminds me of my husband. We were in the car, and not Heath and I, but my daughters and I were in the car, and I asked them, "What kind of man do you want?" And they both thought for maybe 10 seconds, and then one of them said, "I want dad." Now, these are girls who are teenagers. My one daughter is almost 20. It was probably last year that I asked them this, but so they're still in teenage, but one's older, one's a younger teenager. The one said, "I want dad. I want someone just like dad." And my other daughter said, "Yes, dad." And I said, "Well, why?" And not that I was shocked, but I just said, I want to know why. And so I picked their brains, and I said, "Why is that?" And they said, "'Cause he is strong. He makes me feel safe. And it's because he is the head of the household, because he is a godly man, because he will not harm them. He doesn't do anything for their harm or out of selfish interest. He's the kind of man who is in the Word, who teaches the Word, who exemplifies the Word and what it is to be a follower of Christ." He does things like when we have dinner, he's the last one to be served. No matter, we're trying to get him to take the food first. It's good, it's hot. And he says, I will prepare my plate when everybody else has prepared theirs. These are the kinds of things he does. When he opens up his water bottle or whatever, he always hands it to me first to drink from it. And then he takes the second sip. This is a masculine man. And to see him, I have also seen him when we've been in dangerous situations, when he puffs up to twice his size, and other men cower back because of that masculinity, again, because he's strong and he's protecting his wife and his children. So there's that aspect, but also a very gentle masculinity to him as well. And so that's what I want for my daughters, and I think to on the flip side say, well, listen, you need to get yourself a man that you can roll over, that you can steamroll and manipulate. I would never recommend that for my girls. No. That's miserable, where you've got full power in a relationship. That's not wise.
It's not wise, and you need that give and take. And I have seen Heath, even at the church, he is always the last one to eat.
Yep.
Always make sure. And I've seen him go full on. We are protecting the youth group there, and making sure that everybody's safe too.
Yes.
It is a wonderful quality.
He has a servant's heart. He also has a shepherd's heart, and he'll use the rod when he needs to use the rod, and I love that about him. And what's lovely is before either one of us was saved, and before Heath really came into my life, I had, you know how you do. You pray to God when you're in trouble.
Oh,
and,
yes.
you know, so I wasn't a believer, but I was like, God, you know, the guys that I'm dating or whatever, you know, they're kind of mamby-pamby. I need a strong man. Like, send me a strong man. And boy, did he. I got a strong man. And I love that he is not a man to be manipulated and controlled. I love that. But he is controlled by the Spirit. So I love that he's not controlled by his wife, but he is controlled by the Spirit. And that makes being a wife so much simpler. So.
And for anyone else that hasn't seen Heath and Wendee together, what I love and respect about your guys' relationship is the fact that you guys, like during discussions, you can disagree and it's very respectful. It is not like, you fool.
Yeah, that took time. That took years. You know, it's like any marriage where you learn to respect the other one's opinion when you're both very opinionated about things. Because I'm not exactly someone that can be walked all over either.
Oh, absolutely not.
So that takes time and the Spirit to show that you're not in competition with one another, and you can have different opinions on things and still respect and love one another. So, but God has done an amazing work. So, thank you so much for meeting with me today on your special day.
It's even more special. Ryan even gave me my birthday present yesterday morning so that it wouldn't interfere with us getting together today.
Isn't that nice?
He is very supportive of this.
He is a good guy. I love Ryan. He's very humble.
He's humble, and he has handled things. He is not a blustery, get aggressive kind of person. He doesn't even. There was a situation one time where a neighbor had inappropriately slapped my daughter on the butt. And he heard about it, and he didn't say a word to me. He just went and walked over and had a nice, quiet discussion with the neighbor. And it was, I think, a fruitful discussion that did not cause any kind of big war or anything, but it was heard.
It was.
And he didn't go about it like, well, I'm going to go.
Right. I'm going to kill him.
He didn't say a word. He just came back and then just mentioned it later. He handles things in a very just quiet way. He doesn't want to have that big confrontation. He is going to go and speak to them one-on-one first.
Right.
And I appreciated that. That's just one example of how he is just really, and I feel he does seem quiet, but I feel very safe with him.
Right.
I feel like he would give his life defending me or protecting our grandchildren, our children. That's the kind of man he is.
That speaks volumes. It really does. Having the wisdom to know how to handle a situation and still protect your family, but being wise in it as well and knowing what to say and when to say it. That's a beautiful thing, and I'll bet the neighbor never slapped your daughter on the bottom again.
No, he did not.
Yes. So I love this. I love this piece. I love this the article that we're going over and this subject matter. It's important, and who knows? Maybe we can have a couple of these guys on and get their view on masculinity.
Well, I wonder if Heath can bring that in with his testimony, which I'm looking forward to hearing.
Oh, yes.
That's going to be one of our episodes, right?
Yes, we're going to be filming or recording that, I believe, in the next week.
Wonderful.
So maybe next Tuesday, so we can put that out. Meanwhile, Sister, thank you so much. It's been an honor to be with you this morning and to discuss with you. My name is Wendee Omer.
And I'm Sharon Pierce.
And remember, folks, you can handle the truth.
True.
Yes.
Yes.
Woohoo!